Sometimes the way that we think about things needs to be turned upside down. Just because we do things the way we've always done them doesn't mean that that's the best way. Today, we're going to dig into a new way to think, plan, and execute with our special guest. Hi, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing, where we believe marketing shouldn't be difficult. All you need is the right plan. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in today. I am really excited to have with me Morris Sims from Sims Training and Consulting. Morris, thanks so much for taking the time and joining me today.
Hey, Tim, it's great to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Yes, absolutely. And I know we connected. You interviewed me on your podcast. Well, it was probably a month or two ago. We had a great conversation. I really enjoyed that. So thank you for returning the favor and jumping on, because I'm looking forward to digging into this today. Before we do that, I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions to help us get to know you a little bit better. You ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Okay. When you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
When is that, Tim? Does that actually? No, it does. Perfect family. I love to spend time with my family. I've got two grandkids, one 2.5 and one about 6, 7 months old now. So we like to spend time with them, particularly on the beach. And if I'm not doing that, I'm in my workshop. So that's pretty well me.
Cool. Spoil the grandkids and send them back home, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What's your hidden talent?
Ooh, that's a great question. I guess hidden talent, building things. I love to build stuff.
Okay. With wood, anything, or primarily woodworking?
Primarily woodworking. Yeah, primarily with wood. I've got a big sign in my garage now that says Pop's Workshop. Okay. And that pretty well sums it up.
I love it. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Ooh, it's better to be kind than to be right.
Okay. I like that one. Than to be right.
You know, my friend, Dr. Randy Marshall shared that, and I think it actually came from his lovely bride, Kathy, but it's so very, very true. It's better to be kind than to be right. Fighting to be right over something that is really inconsequential is just ridiculous.
It's amazing how quickly things can change when you're kind.
Yeah.
We need more of that in the world. What's one thing about you that surprises people?
Say that again, Tim. I missed the last part.
What's one thing about you that surprises people?
That surprises people?
Yeah.
One of the things I love to build is a model railroad. I'm into model railroading. So
okay,
that's kind of weird. People go, do what?
Yeah. What about success? What does it mean to you? It means different things to different people.
It does, and it's very much that's a definition that could fill a book and has filled many books. As a matter of fact, I like what Earl Nightingale said. Success is a journey toward being able to reach your objective, and I think for me, success means having choices, means being able to make choices and do things that I want to do instead of what other people want me to do. Yeah. And that was one of the main reasons why we decided to go on and retire.
There you go. Okay. What about your happy place? Where is that? I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
The Gulf of Mexico on the Alabama Gulf Coast.
Okay.
Or the Florida Panhandle, either one, but right there along the commonly and lovingly referred to as the Redneck Riviera. We absolutely love it down there, and we've been there. Oh, we were in Destin once this year, and we've got 3 more trips planned. So that's our happy place.
Okay, awesome. What qualities do you value in the people with whom you spend time?
Values are such interesting things. I do an exercise where I give folks a list of all these values and ask them to choose their which ones are important to them and limit it to 2025 or something, and then ask them to begin to shrink that down to get to their top 3. That's a very, very hard exercise, Tim.
It is.
It's hard to do. I think openness is a big one for me. Being able to know that you're going to be open and being transparent to some extent, and honesty to some extent. I mean, their honesty is a hard, tough one, because there's some things that people don't really want to know about me.
Right. Yeah.
So I think openness maybe is a good way to put it.
Cool. I like it. Yeah. If people aren't open, it's kind of hard to build the relationship, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's all about relationships.
Awesome. So, thank you for sharing that. So you've had an interesting journey, right? You retired, and then you decided to start a company. Why'd you do that?
Well, I had made a commitment to people for years. When they said, "Gee, Morris, what are you going to do when you retire?" I didn't really have an answer. So my answer became, "Oh, I'm going to start my own training company." Well, then all of a sudden I retired and I had to do it, Tim.
Yeah.
It's been a wonderful gift. I have had more fun over the past 4 years than I've ever had in my entire career, and it's just been an absolute blast. I wanted to do something that would use the things that I've learned over a career of 40 years to help other people. And I thought, if I can help other people, particularly other salespeople, that's where I spent the majority of my life. If I could help other salespeople learn how to run a business better, because that's one of those things that sometimes you're not really taught that. You're taught how to sell, you're taught your product, but you're not really taught how to run your business. And that's where my podcast comes from. That's where a lot of my consulting and coaching comes from. It really comes down to, I wanted to do something to help people get better at what they do so that they could get what they want. I mean, that's the bottom line, I think, for any business, isn't it? We want to help other people get what they want. And as our friend Zig Ziglar used to tell us, if you help enough people get what they want, then you're going to be fine. Yeah. So that's sort of where I was with it. But Tim plays right into having choices and being able to make choices.
So you worked for people in sale. You were a salesperson, sales management for most of your career.
Yeah, I wound up retiring from New York Life Insurance Company as the vice president and chief learning officer for the sales department, the agency department over there.
So you started your own business. What's been the hardest part?
Initially, the hardest part was realizing that you really can't do it all yourself. If you look at all the stuff on the internet, it would like for you to believe that if you just take their digital course, and I've got my own, but if you take their course or you read their blog or you do what their podcast says to do, that you can do it all yourself. You don't need anybody else. Just go out there and do it. You can build your own website. You can create your own marketing plan. You can do your own email marketing. You can write your own blog. All these different things. What I found out was, Tim, they're absolutely right. You can, but should you?
Right.
The answer is no, no, because you have to learn all that stuff, and that takes time, and we don't have an infinite amount of time. Therefore, isn't it smart to use your resources as best you can to hire people who really do know what they're doing to build a website for you, to help you build a good marketing plan? I love your tagline. Marketing shouldn't be hard. It should really not be difficult if you have a decent plan. Yeah. And that's where, boy, howdy, that was a big one for me, was realizing that I needed to talk to some marketing experts. Having taught marketing concepts and done all these kind of things is great, build training about it, but talking to a real live marketing expert was a game changer for me and for my company. So I got a big charge out of that and thought that was very much worthwhile. But the other part was recognizing that all those people want to get paid, Tim.
Yes, they do.
So if you hire an attorney, they're going to want to get paid. If you hire a CPA, they're going to want to get paid. And being a part of a large major corporation, all I had to do was pick up the phone and call, and there were 2 floors in the building full of attorneys that were willing to help me with whatever I needed. So realizing that as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, you need to engage professionals, but when you do, they're going to expect to be paid, and rightly
Yes.
so, and rightly so.
I think that's a really interesting point because we can't do it all if we're going to grow our business, and we really have to hone in on where the highest and best use of our time is, and also where our gifts are. I think there is a certain amount of self-awareness that has to happen as business owners, and it is a journey. It's not something that just happens overnight, but we have to really understand what are our gifts, what are we great at, and how can we mold our business so that we're working in our gifts, which are the highest and best use of our time, and how can we outsource or hire for everything else.
And Tim, the neat part about that is when you are using your gifts, when you're focused on those things, you're usually having the most fun you can have.
Yes, you are.
That's where I enjoy life most, is when I'm speaking like this, and when I'm doing training, when I'm actually coaching or consulting with a salesperson to help them improve their business. That's where I think those are some of my gifts. And by George, I'm having more fun than ever getting to do that.
Yeah,
it's a neat thing. So it's a good thing to do, and it's fun.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm working on right now is I've taken multiple personality profiles over the years. I'm actually taking a few more and just making sure, because they're all a little different. Some of the information you get from them, there are some consistencies there, but sometimes you pick up, little tidbits that you can use. And so I'm taking a few more, and then I'm going to take all of them, review them, and really just make sure that, because I think I have a decent understanding of myself, but it can always be better. And so I'm going through that, and to make sure that, hey, am I really spending my time in my business where I should be? Because like you said, when you are working in your gifts, you're happy. You will enjoy it. And what's the point in owning your own business if you're not loving it?
Absolutely.
So,
And yeah, I love what you said there, Tim, because if we're honest with ourselves, while maybe basic tendencies don't change, and our proclivity towards certain personality styles and types might, remain, or at least lie underneath, the fact is we do change.
yes.
We do grow, we do change. And the DISC personality type, the MBTI thing I did 20 years ago, probably isn't going to be the same if I took it today.
Yeah, it could be different. Some of them are based off of just how you've always been, and others are really more in the moment. So I think it's a worthwhile thing to do if you're, if you want to make sure you're where you should be.
Yeah.
So I want to get into this new way of thinking, planning, and executing. And it starts with goals versus desires. I know you've got a course around this. Let's dig into this a little bit. Just fire away.
Well, it's not what is not. It's not about the words. It's not about semantics. It really isn't. It is all about control. What do you have control over? And recognizing that and realizing that is the basis of successful business. Frankly, it's the basis of successful life.
Yeah.
We tend to get really frustrated if we worry about things that we have no control over. In fact, it's been said that the key to good, strong mental health is recognizing the things that you control and the things that you don't control. The serenity prayer that Alcoholics Anonymous uses kind of pretty well says it all.
Right?
Help me to control those things that I can't control, and wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to. So goals and desires, very quickly put, is understanding that goals we're going to define, and call it whatever you want to. It doesn't matter. but we're defining goals as those things over which you have total and complete control. Desires are things you would like to have happen or would you like to obtain that you don't have total and complete control over. So, Tim, let's do a test here to see how well you understand that.
Yes.
Is it a good goal to have a great marriage?
That would be a desire. I
It would be a desire. Very good. Oh, you're
Yes.
a good student.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
good. Outstanding. Outstanding. Because most folks react initially, oh yeah, it's a good goal. It's a good tell my spouse I said that. It's a good goal.
Yes.
No, and by our definition, it's not a good goal. It's a great desire. Is it a good goal, Tim, to decide that you're going to ask your spouse to spend time with you on a date night once a week?
Yes, that would be a goal. I can
That would be
control
a
that,
goal.
right?
You got it. You got
Yeah.
it. Let's relate it real quickly to sales. Is it a good goal to make 5 sales a week?
That would be a desire.
That would be a desire. And that's where most of us as salespeople tend to have trouble. If we start focusing on desires, because desires are all wrapped around results. Desires are all wrapped around the results, and they include things that you don't have control over. It requires somebody else
Yes.
to make a decision. It requires somebody else to do something or decide something in order for that desire to come about, like a sale.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a sale today, but somebody else has to decide to buy.
Yeah.
So that's a desire. It's not a goal. It is a goal for me to say, I'm going to attempt to contact 10 new business owners that I don't know today and see if we can't start a conversation and begin to build a relationship. That would be
Yeah.
a great goal. So we take goals and desires. We help people understand the difference between the two. And the fact, again, that it's really not the words. It's
Yeah.
the idea that we've got to focus on those things that we have
can
control of. Because if we focus on the stuff that we don't control, we're going to go crazy. That's
Yes.
pretty well
Yeah.
bottom line.
It's interesting because there's so many different, goal setting, frameworks and recommendations out there. And I was reading something actually just the other day about it was the and I can't even remember how they put it, but they were talking about input and output based goals. Input goals are exactly what you're describing. I can control those. Output based goals I can't control. Right. And so, you're using slightly different terminology, but you're really talking about the same things. And that's one of the things that has always, I wouldn't say trip me up, but just has me questioning when people are talking about, hey, my goal is to do X. And I sit there and I think about it and I'm like, you have very little control over actually reaching that goal. You can control what you do, the actions you take to attempt to reach that. But if you do all those things and you don't get there, if that was your goal, I can see that being very debilitating and, unmotivating for people, so it's like, how have you helped salespeople with that? Like, how do they find that balance of, these are my goals, here's my desire, but if I reach all my goals, but I don't hit my desire, how do I balance that and continue to move forward?
Again, Tim, it comes back down to understanding the things you control versus those things you don't, and what you're focusing on. This is all a concept that was taught to me by my friend and mentor, Dr. Randy Marshall. And Randy uses an example. He says, if you had a big flip chart, and of course, when he's in front of a big group of people, he's got a flip chart. So he puts a black dot down in the corner or a red dot down in the corner. And he says, what happens if you focus on that red dot, that little bitty red dot on this big white piece of paper? What happens if you focus on the red dot? Well, if you keep looking at it and you stare at it and you just gaze at that red dot, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, doesn't it? The more you gaze, the more you focus on it, the bigger it gets and the more important it gets to you. What Randy's point is here, we need to gaze at the things that we control and glance at the things that we don't control. So if we're going to focus on something, let's not focus on the stuff we cannot control. So if I'm focused on, I want to make this level of production in order to win a trip to San Diego this year. If I focus only on that, then I'm going to have trouble because I can't control that.
Yeah.
I'm going to glance at that, but I'm going to focus on the things that are going to get me to that desire, to that ultimate result.
Yeah.
If my goals aren't getting me to the results I want, then we need to go back and rethink our goals and our strategy.
Okay.
Tim, I teach people that you got to know what you want and have clarity about that. So what is it that you really want? That's kind of your desire, right?
Yeah.
Why do you want it? Simon Sinek wrote a great book, Start With Why, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people have written a lot about understanding the why. And I believe that's absolutely true. You got to understand why it is that you want whatever it is that you said you wanted. I believe that so strongly that I tell people you've got to have that why wrapped in passion and fueled with emotion. Once we figure out what we want and why we want it, then comes strategy. How are you going to get there? How do you get from A to Z? How are you going to go from where you are to where you want to be? That's critical. If we've got the proper strategy chosen, and you can't have 20 of them, you can only have one or two.
Yeah.
We can't, multitasking is a myth, right?
Right.
So you got to be able to focus on something. Let's focus on one or two strategies. Then we can set goals, things we control, around those strategies that are going to support and implement them. And then it comes into a question of daily planning, weekly planning, and daily planning to make sure that I'm doing the things that are going to help me implement that strategy to get to what it is that I desire. And if it doesn't work out, then I got a problem with my strategy and my goals.
Yeah. So if the goals, the actions that you're taking aren't getting you there, you're focusing on something's missing, and you need to go back and re-engineer that.
Yes.
I love that. So you got to first know what you want and why you want it. The why is what's keeping you motivated and driving you to get what you want, right?
It's what gets you up in the morning. It's what causes you to put your feet on the cold floor. It's what causes you to make that, if you're a salesperson, to make that additional call in the day. It's what causes you to pick up the phone or go to or do something to try and meet somebody that you know you'd like to meet. You'd love to do business with them, but you don't know them. So it's what causes you to go out there and do that very uncomfortable thing of meeting a stranger.
Yeah. I love it. So our goals are those things that we have complete control over, and our desires are the things that we want, but we may not have complete control over.
Right. So a goal is something that we have total control over. It's schedulable and plannable. I can plan a goal and put it on my calendar. I'm going to work on this on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. That's a goal. And I can work toward my goals. I can actually do things to accomplish them. A desire is outside my control. Somebody else has to make a decision. It has to do with results. And frankly, it's not something I can actually work specifically toward.
Yeah.
It's not something I can put on my calendar. I'm going to achieve this level of production by X date. I can't do that, but I can put specific activities on my calendar that I control.
Yeah.
So there's the difference in the two. And again, got to focus on the goals.
So if we can pull this out, the new way to think, plan, and execute is to really understand that difference between goals and desires, understanding what you want and why you want it, and then working your way backwards to identify what are those activities that I need to take on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to get me to what I desire.
Tim, you're a great student.
Okay. I've been paying attention. Awesome. Did I miss anything there? Is there anything else you want to add on that?
Well, I guess focus is the other key piece of this thing, and then what you're focusing on. And Gates and Buffett were interviewed by HBO for a special, and they were asked to write down on a piece of paper, what do you think the most important thing in business is today? Don't talk to each other, just write it down. They both wrote down one word, and when they revealed it, it was the same word, and that word was focus. So I found that to be very interesting, and I love telling that story. But the other thing is the strategy. You can't have 20. Well, Maurice, I want to do business with everybody. Tim, when you try and chase 5 rabbits, how many do you catch?
Yeah, none.
None.
Yeah.
Same thing's true here. We can say, okay, I want to sell something to everybody. I want to do business with everybody out there that might want to. I've got to have a strategy that I can focus on. And that means I'm not trying to multitask and do 100 different things at once or be 100 different things to everybody. I've got to focus on what I can control and what I want to be good at.
Yeah, I love it. So let's transition to sales. You've spent a lot of time in sales. What do you feel are those most important elements that we need to deal with when it does come to sales? We got in business, we got to be able to sell, but some of us don't like it, and we do everything we can to avoid it. So help us out there.
Well, yeah, sales is not hard in all reality. I say that and people go, gee, everybody likes to say that, Morris. Come on. It is hard. It's difficult. I've tried it. I've tried to make a living doing it. I can't do it. I understand. It's not easy, but maybe the right word is even simple doesn't really describe it. It is predictable. Maybe that's a good word. Dr. Kenneth Black started the insurance department at Georgia State University in Atlanta. He wound up being the head of the department for risk management and insurance. And Kenneth put it really well. He's quoted as saying something to the effect of, I'm sure I won't get this exactly right, but he basically, in talking about selling insurance, and it's true for selling anything, okay? I don't care if you're selling widgets or cars or insurance or houses or anything, it's all going to come back down to this. Kenneth says, the person who leaves the sale, the interview, the discussion, with the best relationship is the person that's going to wind up getting the sale. If there were 2 salespeople who were working with you, Tim, and one of them has a good relationship with you, but maybe wasn't able to answer all your questions and is going to go do some research. The other one came in and all they talked about was product and how it's going to solve your problem. And this is the best widget you might ever buy. I know you bought widgets in the past, blue ones. I've got green ones in the car. How many green widgets would you like, Tim?
Yeah.
That person is not going to make the sale. The person who built the relationship and gained some trust with you is the one that you're going to buy from 90% of the time, in my opinion, and in Dr. Black's opinion.
Yeah. How do you feel about, there's the old school sales mentality, get them in, close them, what most of us think about, like, car salespeople, not to shame car salespeople, but there's that, we all have that feeling, right? And then there's, I don't know how new I would say this is, but it wasn't talked about early on in the sales game of, permission-based selling and, focusing on value and building that relationship. How do you feel about that?
I think it's the value-based, relationship-based professional salesperson that's going to win the day every time, because you're interested in helping the client get what they need, get what they want. Sometimes we don't necessarily want what we need, but we want something. So if I can help you get what you want with giving you a full and complete understanding of what you might need other than what you want, then whatever it is you want, if I'm out there to help you get what you want, and I'm not there to put $1 in my pocket, although the workman is worth his wages and we all have to get paid, and salespeople are more than worth every penny they get paid. Yeah. Because, Tim, our economy would go nowhere if people didn't buy things. Yeah. And chances are there's a salesman behind your purchase everywhere you go. So it really comes back down to building that relationship. That's, in my opinion, that's where it's always going to come back down to. Now, there's still going to be the guy who's going to look at you and say, Mr. Sims, what can I do today to earn your business? Yeah. or
Right.
something like that. They're going to, would you like a red widget or a blue widget?
Yeah.
That stuff is still out there, and it's still, frankly, it still works sometimes with some people. But if you're selling something of value that's not a commodity, you got to build that relationship. It's going to go to the relationship every time. Well, Morris, no, it's not. It's going to go to the lowest price. It's going to go to the best.
Right.
Gee, I don't think that's true. My opinion. I don't have research to back it up, Tim, other than
Yeah.
my own, but experience. But in my opinion, it's going to go to the person who walks in there and builds the relationship that the customer knows they can trust, that the customer knows is going to be there for them to provide the service that they need and help them if their things don't go just exactly the way they expected them to go. That's
Yeah.
the person that I'm going to buy from. I don't know
So we
about
don't
you.
need Jedi mind tricks to be a successful salesperson.
Not at all. These are not the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, yes. The quote that always sticks with me, and I don't remember who the heck originally said this, but nobody likes to be sold, but people love to buy.
Absolutely true.
And so it's always refreshing to talk to people who say, yeah, you don't need to do these sneaky underhanded things or these little sales tricks to sell people. Because I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate being sold to. Honestly, it just turns me off. I go the other way. So even though that may work sometimes, goes back to how we originally started this conversation, is just because that's the way that it's been done doesn't mean that it's the right way to do it.
Amen.
So I love that. This has been an awesome conversation, Morris. You have shared a ton of wisdom. And I appreciate that. I've learned something. I learn something new every time I have these conversations. Any last minute words of wisdom or guidance you want to share with us?
I mentioned my partner. He works with me. We work together on a number of different projects. And he's been my mentor for over 30 years, Dr. Randy Marshall. Randy says something that I believe wholeheartedly. In fact, I started my next podcast at the Business of Sales with this line right here, and it's I think a good one. If the horse is dead, Tim, get off the horse. But be sure the horse is dead, because he might just be resting a little bit. So make sure the horse is dead and then get off the horse. But if he might just be resting, so you got to have perseverance. You got to keep going. You got to keep trying, because you might be closer to the top of the mountain than you think you are.
I love that. Play the long game. There was another quote that, and I can't remember exactly how it goes, but there's so many people that quit right before they're about to be successful. That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Where can people learn more about you if they want to learn more about how you can help them get better with their sales and get to where they want to be?
Well, the website is morrissims.com. And thank you. You got it scrolling across the screen there.
I got it. Yeah, that's MorrisSims.com, morrissims.com.
Right. A lot of S's in there, but it is all there. My email address is morris@morrissims.com. That's kind of hard to remember.
Yeah.
And then our podcast is The Business of Sales, and it's available on all the podcast platforms, Spotify, iTunes, all those things that are out there, Libsyn, all those different places. We'd love to have you be a listener and a downloader of The Business of Sales. But go to morrissims.com. There's some blogs on there. There's some links on there, some free resources. We'd love to see you on the site.
Awesome. Morris, thank you so much for taking the time. I really do appreciate it. I got a ton of value. I know others will as well. For those that are watching, listening, thank you for tuning in. Again, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing. If you want to gain clarity on where to focus your marketing efforts right now, hop on over to our website, rialtomarketing.com. That's RIALTO marketing.com. Just click on the Get a Free Consultation button. Guarantee you'll get a ton of value from that and walk away knowing where you need to focus your marketing right now to get the best return. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time, take care.